actually for men and women, but mostly men.
Throttle hold. Flaps at low rates. Stabilization on.
Um, Losing weight's a breeze. It really is. It's shocking how easy it is, and by simply watching your total fat content, everything else will watch itself.
Throttle active.
Cal-
Throttle active.
That's interesting. Are we annoyed? Let's try this
Telemetry
again.
lost. Telemetry recovered. Telemetry
Where is
lost.
it? Yeah.
Telemetry recovered.
So, yeah, you watch. The way it works is you watch fat and the calories watch themselves. So, once you get in that rhythm of what to eat and what not to eat, and life is all good. But what ends up happening is you tend to fall back in your own behavior. And how I got out of that little trap was I went to Weight Watchers. I was 36 years old, and I weighed about 250. That'd be 280 in uniform, right? And my wife was getting fat, and I said, why don't we just eat ourselves to death? I literally said that. I said, who cares? Who wants to live forever? We'll just eat ourselves to death. I like Chinese buffets. My wife likes Chinese buffets. Time to eat. Well, she says this. She goes, we got to do something, don't we? I go, yeah. And she says, I think Weight Watchers is probably our best bet. So we both loaded up and went to Weight Watchers. And a bunch of formerly fat old ladies taught me how to eat. And one of them was, for my age at the time, I could only eat about 36 grams of fat a day. And if you look at a Big Mac, that's 36 grams of fat. So you could eat one Big Mac in a day. Or go to Subway and eat a Subway Club without mayonnaise, and you get 6 grams of fat in that damn thing. That's a meal. And you don't walk away hungry, because there's just nothing worse than being, well, there is something, yeah, no, actually there's nothing worse than just being hungry. And I taught myself how to eat through Weight Watchers, and I looked at food, all foods, simply as how much fat's in it, and you memorize it after a while. It's not that hard. I'm lazy, so what I did was I figured out what I could eat and what I couldn't, and I just ate that. And I had about 6 or 8 different types of meals I could eat. You can just go ahead and put potatoes and rice out of your mind, unless you just want to eat a couple of tablespoons, because that's how that works. It sucks. And it really worked out perfectly for me, because about 8 or so years later, I would develop adult onset diabetes, and I started to have to watch carbs. So not only did I have to watch fat, but I also had to watch carbs. Well, I already knew how to do that. So the trick to losing weight is you gotta want it, and then you gotta say to yourself, I'll hit goal eventually. It may take 6, 8 months, and now I need to keep it off. And you give yourself a Sunday to eat whatever you want, but you got to go back to it on Monday. And herein lies the problem. You slip twice, you slip 3 times, you gain 5 extra pounds. Pick up a 5-pound bag of sugar and see how heavy that is. It's really easy to go back up. And that's a thing that my wife has struggled with for years, and now she has problems with her thyroid, which govern everything to include weight. So she's out. She's 65 years old, and I'm like, I'm just not going to, lean on her to try to lose weight. Well, thanks for spending 15 or 18 minutes with me today. I don't know when you're going to see this. Today is August 2nd, and I have no internet. So I'll upload a kind of a crippled version of this video, resolution-wise, as we go out and move around. So you might see this on the 3rd or the 4th or the 5th or something like that. But yeah, I'm still out here. I'm still having a great time, notwithstanding the blurb I had to deal with yesterday. As I may have mentioned before, this is first world problems. I couldn't get into a campground. Where that does suck is there aren't any other campgrounds. My wife checked to see if there's anything else locally, and there just aren't any. There full. You know, where if you can find one, they're just completely full. So I didn't want to be homeless. And my plan B would have been to say, well, since y'all effed me, I'll just set up in that parking lot over there and run on generator, which would have been no problem. I didn't have much in the way of water, but I only carry about 10 or 15 gallons with me on board, but I would have been fine. You know, you flush the toilets. And ran that generator and ran my air conditioners, and I'd have been fine. And then the next day we would have just rolled until we found another campground roughly on the way to where we're going. Middle of the week, it's generally not that difficult. It's those weekends.
Timer 1 elapsed.
Alrighty, that was fun. And oh man, I hadn't flown in I don't know when. Presque Isle probably.
Throttle hold.
See, good morning, children. Here's my rig. This is the seasonal side of the RV park. That means they live here year round. The spot they had for me, I couldn't have got in there if I tried.
Welcome to OpenTX. Switch warning. Throttle active. Flaps at low rates. Stabilization on.
Let's take Sir Sprung for a fly. Yeah, I should have made a jig for this thing when I built it or assembled it. This is actually one of the tougher things I've actually ever put together. So I'm at Sherwin, Sherwin YMCA in Lake City, Pennsylvania. Behind me, about 30 feet, is Lake Erie in all its fury. This place has been here for about 100 years, they tell me. And as such, the lake has become more and more angry over time and is eroding the shoreline. Really just like where we were at Walcott, New York, with Lake Ontario, just chipping away at the shoreline. And I don't know the cause of it, but it is what it is. A little brisk out here this morning. It's probably, I don't know, 60 degrees-ish. So I dug my little whirly gig out from underneath the trailer.
RSSI low.
Let's see if it still flies. Or if I still know how to fly. Well, it appears I can do my normal right-hand turns. Yeah, we have no internet here, and but it's a 100-year-old YMCA, and I guess they kind of got into putting in short-term RV slips over the last 2 years. And there's a lady named Kim, who I've yet to meet, that actually runs the joint. What she does is she uses kids. 16-year-old Ashley and probably 15-year-old Jack yesterday were my pals who got me checked in. Right over to my right, there's two big old trees that
4 minutes.
would prevent any 40-foot RV from getting in. And where I'm annoyed at them at is that there's no way you could have got in there. And because of their foolishness that way, the RV place, there's only one other spot here to go. Well, I pulled 6 hours in the rain yesterday, and when I get to an RV place, I expect to get in. And I also expect at some point in time to get shut out because I'm dealing with retarded people. Yesterday was not the day I wanted to get shut out. So they had a little spot just by accident in the seasonal section. And the reason that spot's empty is because they put the sewer in wrong. It's on the opposite side of where it's supposed to be,
3 minutes.
and there's no gradient, so it doesn't flow. Maybe we'll see. I think I might be able to get it to flow. Black water's all right. It's going to be gray that I got a problem with, and I'll find out probably tomorrow. I'm going to fill up one of my gray tanks and see if it'll dump. If it doesn't, then I have an alternative, and that's to take a blue tank and at 10 gallons a pop and go dump it at their dump. Little plane's doing good. I had to replace the ESC on here, and I tend to believe it's because I put too heavy a prop on it. Back to the prop that my buddy called for. But anywho, so it's time to go put in at the seasonal side, and there's no room to drive the rig around and turn it around. And even if there was, the problem is that there's also tree limbs that are way too high, and just on and on. What a hassle. So, but I could tell I could back the damn thing in. And it's funny because one of the old men over there, he goes, "You'll never get that in here." And I go, "Well, yes, I will." He goes, "You'll never make it around that loop." I go, "Well, that's right, because I'm going to back in." I know how to back. It says my wife has a master's degree, but the thing that I taught her I'm most proud of is the hand signals for ground driving, all 5 of them. That thing is so sprung, but it flies. So anyhow, sure enough, I backed her in. No worries. Just did the old get out and look. Goal, G-O-A-L, Nano Man. If you get lazy and don't want to get out of the truck, you will wreck your rig, I assure you. I wish I could unspring that thing. I don't know if there's a way of doing it. Just aesthetically, it drives me crazy. So, yeah, we got here, and I was exhausted after the 6-hour drive, and luckily I don't have any lightning, oddly enough. But after 6 hours of driving in the pouring rain, my cheese was smoked, and I was tired. If I could run a piece of metal through there, like wire, like heavy gauge wire.
Timer 1 elapsed.
Let's bring her home.
Throttle home. Throttle home.
Need to do that in the grass. Dummy. So, yeah, with that said, I went to bed about, I'm not kidding you, about 7:30 last night after that long day. Had to go get another hose to see if it'd reach to the fitting there for sewer. Just because it'll reach doesn't mean it'll flow. And I have been in that situation one time before, so we'll see if I can get it to work. Went down to the beach right there. Actually, you can see the lake from here. They have a 100. They have a 100-foot stairway all the way down to the beach, and then the beach is very, shallow, so to speak. There's just not much real estate there, maybe 10, 15 feet at the most, because they are suffering shoreline erosion. So, yeah, did all that, had a way too big a supper and way too big a dessert, and the wife's like, "Well, what do you want to do tomorrow morning?" And I'm like, she goes, "Well, we could stand down." I go, no, weather's too pretty. We need to consider the virtues of getting on out and doing stuff. So when she arises after the long day, and it's stressful for her too, you know. It is particularly spring today, though. I don't know what it is. There's those little winglets on here, and the one that folds over all the time. My wife has some what they call jewelry wire. It's basically just a silver wire, and you know, it's probably, you know, 30 gauge or something, you know, like a bread wrapper, the interior of a bread wrapper. What I was able to do was just stick it in there and put a little glue on it so it'd stay. And when that little thing gets, the little ear, a little black ear gets bent over, you just bend it back like you would a Gumby. I need to do that to the entire fuselage of this thing. Honestly, it's so old now, it's probably 2 seasons old or so. I need to replace it with a Sally
3 minutes.
from Twisted Hobby. But I'm able to do right now what I wanted to do, and that's come out and fly. Yeah, it rained yesterday here as well, and this grass is beautiful for a reason, because just below it is a cousin to clay. And to get into that other spot, which I probably could have done, I would have needed to get on the grass. But imagine just the moment you put your wheel on here, it yanks the grass off and you sink because of this type of soil. In fact, you'll see all around me where people have suffered that. They sure have.
2 minutes.
The word is that Kim, the lady that operates the campground portion of this very old place, through a combination of ineptness and the management not allowing her to spend any money, I gave thought of how I might describe this place and how it's managed, and the term is rinky-dink. The bathhouse behind me looks like, I haven't been in there, but my wife has, and unfortunately it looks like a bomb hit it, because the 16-year-olds don't want to clean bathrooms, right? So they ride around on golf courts all day and do other shit. While Kim hides out in her trailer. She's right over there, her. I saw, apparently she has a husband of some sort. So you never see an adult when you check in or you have a problem. They call Kim, quote, my supervisor, end quote.
1 minute.
And she come and does whatever it is she does. Through the telephone. But we'll make do. First world problems, wham, wham, wham. Met Kevin yesterday. Super nice guy. He was the most helpful. He wasn't the guy, I don't remember the name of the other guy who wasn't helpful, who wants to tell me that I can't do something. Well, you'll never get that in there. Yeah, I will. And sure as shit, I had plenty of room to get in. Really, I say plenty of room. I had a foot. And I could have dicked around and kind of moved stuff and made it, gave myself a more broad range. But, you know, I got in without really having to try too hard with about a foot to spare. All right, let's not kick off this battery too bad. Yeah, it's weird. My little charger that Steven gave me behaved odd the last time I used it. Works perfect. Yeah. You know, if I charged it over more than a tenth of an amp, it would say my battery was full, and that didn't work. But today, or last night, when I charged these batteries up, charged really nicely. You could charge it at 0.8 of an amp without it instantaneously telling me it's full. So I don't know if it was the charger or the batteries not having been used much.
Telemetry recovered.
Let's go back here. I forget how you go back. Return. But yeah, the charger's working a treat.
Telemetry lost.
Fun talking to Chuck Pierce. He and I are on the book face together, trying to do something. And congratulations on, you won't see this for a while, but congratulations on losing weight. Man, that is, if you'll pardon the pun, huge. It's really difficult to do.